The Fisherman and His Soul by Oscar Wilde. Part 3. Therefore am I come to thee, though men call thee evil, and whatever be thy price, I shall pay it. What wouldest thou? asked the witch, coming near to him. I would send my soul away from me, answered the young fisherman. The witch grew pale and shuddered, and hid her face in her blue mantle. Pretty boy, she muttered, that is a terrible thing to do. He tossed his brown curls and laughed. My soul is not to me, he answered. I cannot see it, I may not touch it, I do not know it. What wilt thou give me if I tell thee? asked the witch, looking down at him with her beautiful eyes. 5 pieces of gold, he said, and my nets, and the wattled house where I live, and the painted boat in which I sail. Only tell me how to get rid of my soul, and I will give thee all that I possess. She laughed mockingly at him, and struck him with a spray of hemlock. I can turn the autumn leaves into gold, she answered, and I can weave the pale moonbeams into silver if I will it. He whom I serve is richer than all the kings of this world, and has their dominions. What then shall I give thee, he cried, if thy price be neither gold nor silver? The witch stroked his hair with her thin white hand. Thou must dance with me, pretty boy, she murmured, and she smiled at him as she spoke. Not but that, cried the young fisherman in wonder, and he rose to his feet. Not but that, she answered, and she smiled at him again. Then at sunset in some secret place we shall dance together, he said, and after that we have danced, thou shalt tell me the thing which I desire to know. She shook her head. When the moon is full, when the moon is full, she muttered. Then she peered all around and listened. A bluebird rose screaming from its nest and circled over the dunes, and 3 spotted birds rustled through the coarse grey grass and whistled to each other. There was no other sound save the sound of a wave fretting the smooth pebbles below. So she reached out her hand and drew him near to her and put her dry lips close to his ears. Tonight thou must come to the top of the mountain, she whispered. It is a Sabbath, and he will be there. The young fisherman started and looked at her, and she showed her white teeth and laughed. Who is he of whom thou speakest? He asked. It matters not, she answered. Go thou tonight, and stand under the branches of the hornbeam, and wait for my coming. If a black dog run towards thee, strike it with a rod of willow, and it will go away. If an old speak to thee, make it no answer. When the moon is full, I shall be with thee, and we will dance together on the grass. But wilt thou swear to me to tell me how I may send my soul from me? He made question. She moved out into the sunlight, and through her red hair rippled the wind. By the hoofs of the goat, I swear it, she made answer. Thou art the best of the witches, cried the young fisherman, and I will surely dance with thee tonight on the top of the mountain. I would indeed that thou hadst asked of me either gold or silver, but such as thy price is, thou shalt have it, for it is but a little thing. And he doffed his cap to her, and bent his head low, and ran back to the town, filled with a great joy. And the witch watched him as he went, and when he had passed from her side, she entered her cave, and having taken a mirror from a box of carved cedar wood, she set it up on a frame, and burned vervain on lighted charcoal before it, and peered through the coils of the smoke. And after a time she clenched her hands in anger. He should have been mine, she muttered. I am as fair as she is. And that evening, when the moon had risen, the young fisherman climbed up to the top of the mountain and stood under the branches of the hornbeam. Like the touch of polished metal, the round sea lay at his feet, and the shadows of the fishing boats moved in the little bay. A great owl, with yellow sulphurous eyes, called to him by his name, but he made it no answer. A black dog ran towards him and snarled. He struck it with a rod of willow, and it went away, whining. At midnight the witches came flying through the air like bats. "Phew!" they cried, as they lit upon the ground. "There is someone here we know not." And they sniffed about, and chattered to each other, and made signs. Last of all came the young witch, with her red hair streaming in the wind. She wore a dress of gold tissue, embroidered with peacock's eyes, and a little cap of green velvet was on her head. "Where is he? Where is he?" shrieked the witches when they saw her, but she only laughed and ran to the hornbeam, and taking the fisherman by the hand, she led him out into the mountain and began to dance. Round and round they whirled, and the young witch jumped so high that he could see the scarlet heels of her shoes. Then right across the dancers came the sound of the galloping of a horse, but no horse was to be seen, and he felt afraid. "Faster!" cried the witch, and she threw her arms around his neck, and her breath was hot upon his face. "Faster! Faster!" she cried, and the earth seemed to spin beneath his feet, and his brain grew troubled, and a great terror fell on him, as of some evil thing that was watching him, and at last he became aware that under the shadow of a rock there was a figure that had not been there before. It was a man dressed in a suit of black velvet, cut in the Spanish fashion. His face was strangely pale, but his lips were like a proud red flower. He seemed weary, and was leaning back, toying in a listless manner with the pommel of his dagger. On the grass beside him lay a plumed hat, and a pair of riding gloves gauntleted with gilt lace, and sewn with seed pearls wrought into a curious device. A short cloak lined with sables hung from his shoulders, and his delicate white hands were gemmed with rings. Heavy eyelids drooped over his eyes. The young fisherman watched him as one snared in a spell. At last their eyes met, and wherever he danced, it seemed to him that the eyes of the man were upon him. He heard the witch laugh, and caught her by the waist, and whirled her madly round and round. Suddenly a dog bayed in the wood, and the dancers stopped, and going up two by two, knelt down and kissed the man's hands. As they did so, a little smile touched his proud lips, as the bird's wing touches the water and makes it laugh. But there was disdain in it. He kept looking at the young fisherman. "Come, let us worship," whispered the witch, and she led him up, and a great desire to do as she besought him seized on him, and he followed her.